And good morning. This is Coach Big P. Time to go over the games of Week 2, IHSA 2017 season. Week 2 is usually the week where the coach shows their full hands of formations to the opposing team and on-game film. So it's going to be an interesting Week 2. I think that sets the pace for the season after Week 2. Um, I've seen it numerous times where it actually has, where we overplay what happens in Week 1, and Week 2 is actually the where you can, how you say, get it mostly right of what the season's going to be after Week 2. So it'll be interesting. Go over the schedule and IHSA.org again. IHSA.org is your best source for Illinois football schedules and everything else. All right, so let's start. Lincoln, Mount Sinai and Lincoln. I really do think it's a good game, and it's a good game. It's a game to check the pace of Lincoln football and what it is going to be up to this season. They moved to the Apollo. It's going to be an interesting game. Next, the Big Northern, Bryan and Rockford Lutheran. That's a good game to keep a close eye out on. Bryan beat Central Burlington, so it's a close game, and Bryan's basically a power, so it'll be a good game to see where they're at. Bryan versus Rockford Lutheran. I'm looking at the games right now. Peoria versus Peoria Richwoods. Peoria lost last week. It's a good game to set to see what's up for next this season, especially Peoria. Peoria Richwoods just got Streetmeyer, the quarterback, nice little running back. Now, it's again interesting game. Peoria versus Peoria Richwoods rivalry game. It's going to be it's going to be a telling game basically. Let's see. I'm just looking up the schedule right now. Cesar versus Avalon, Black Diamond. Uh, it's not that much of an important game, Black Diamond, but I still want to see what Cesar does. They beat Carmel County last week. It'll be interesting to see. Um, still looking down. Salem at Breeze. The Cahokie Conference. Salem is they moved down to the Cahokie. That's a game to keep a close eye out for. Swoops. Springfield to Jacksonville. I want to see if Springfield can get that second game, especially against Jacksonville. That's a good game to check out for. Sacred Heart Griffin versus the Decatur MacArthur is another good game to look out for, especially with the Twins at MacArthur and Sacred Heart Griffin being Sacred Heart Griffin. I want to see how the Twins respond against Sacred Heart Griffin this season. Glenbar North versus Wabanzi Valley, two 0-1 teams. That's gonna be a good game. They have to win this game. That's a definite win game. Nico Valley versus Naperville Central, another good game. Wayne Warrenville South at Lake Park is a good game too. If Lake Park can win this game, that's 2-0. That puts 2 wins under Chris Roll's belt for the season. Great way to start off the season. Huntley or Prairie Ridge, that's the game of the week, you could basically say, in the state of Illinois. It's a good game because it tests Prairie Ridge, and it's a chance for Huntley to not shock the world, but to as a stepping stone over Prairie Ridge. So that's one hell of a game. Let's see where else. Most of the Central Illinois teams, there's not that many good games this year. Not this year, but this week. It's a lot of if ands. Olympia versus St. Thomas More. That's a game that's a definite must-win game. between two teams. Let's see what else. Nope. Um, oh, Polo at Midgeville. That's actually a great game to look out for. Um, Huge game for both teams, and Lena Winslow versus at Forston. That's one of the top games in the conference this year. Uh, can Lena Winslow beat Forston, the beast that is Forston, in northern upstate Illini Northwest? That's actually a huge game. So uh, I that's a tough game actually. Forston just that talent. Ugh, too much good talent there. Let's see. Let's go down. Go down. Nope. Oswego versus Plainfield North is a good game. Especially Plainfield North and Oswego, two playoff teams last year. That's going to be a that's going to be a game that sets the pace for the Southwest Prairie Conference. Um, That's actually really a huge game. Oswego versus Plainfield North. Juliet West at Plainfield South. That's another good game. That's a game where um, you have, I think, where Juliet West, it's got to be a win for Juliet. And Juliet West must has to win that game. So it is what it is. Lincoln Way Central at Lincoln Way West. That's another good game. That sets the pace even more for Lincoln Way Central. Um, so it's Lincoln Way Central. I think they won their first game. Lincoln Way West, getting to that 5-win magic mark, second week of the season. But again, we'll see what happens. Going down. Uh, I got actually. This is actually a good game to keep a close eye on. Aurora East versus Stag. And no, you're saying well, Aurora East. So, if Stag wins this game, they're 2-0. Definite. It's a They can win the game, but are they going to overlook their opponent for next week because they have home with Flossmoor next week? And if they win that game, that's a hell of a game. Home of Flossmoor versus Stag. That's going to be a good game. Hersey versus Hoffman Estates. That's another good game. Uh, Coach Pardon is trying to get that team into the playoffs. They can do some damage in the playoffs. Owen Goldsberry is good. Hoffman Estates is the team of destiny this year. A good game to look out for. um, there's let's see, going down. Still going. Bolingbrook at St. Charles North. That's another top game of the week. It's a huge game for St. Charles North. It sets the pace for their season. It's another huge game for Bolingbrook. Bolingbrook had a sort of a disappointing season last season. What can St. Charles North do, and what can Bolingbrook do? It depends on basically. I think it's going to be versus the Bolingbrook defense and Mikey Honesy, the quarterback. Um, if St. Charles North wins this game and beats Bolingbrook, that sets the pace for their season. Another game, and this is the game of how do you say of the future in Illinois high school football up north. Kankakee versus Bradley Bourbonnais, two teams that are on the verge of becoming powerhouses. That's going to be an interesting game. Kankakee versus Bradley Bourbonate. That is a hell of a game, actually. My game is Richards versus Phillips. That's another good game. I think Richards needs to win this game. I think Phillips is just going to kill the whole season, but I think this is a definite pace setter for Richards to win the game. They need to, they need this win more than um, Phillips needs this win. That's just my personal feeling. Still looking down. One for Bolingbrook, Bensonville, Palos Heights. No, it's not even a good game. IC versus St. Lawrence. Is St. Lawrence going to get back the revenge from last year? Can St. Lawrence had a tough game against IC last year. That's going to be a game to keep a close eye out on. There's a lot of one-sided games this week too, and that's what's horrible. Oh, Downers Grove South versus OPRF. OPRF beats Simeon. Can Downers Grove South go and win against OPRF? That's going to be an interesting game. Hinsdale South at Lyons Township. Hinsdale South, another tough team for Lyons Township. This is a huge game for Lyons Township season. Hinsdale South needs this win to get that. I think it's the second win. If they win this game, this is their second win. They get a second win under their belt, which is a good sign to get into the playoffs. 2 wins, basically getting 2 wins in the second week is a huge morale booster for your team. No doubt about it. Getting your first win in the second week is a huge morale booster too, because after the first loss, if you have a hyped team that lost the first game, you basically say you got to work towards this goal. This goal's not going to be given to you, and we got to work harder than we did last week. They worked their ass off. They win the second game, and they realize, oh my God, coach was right. He was right about that. We have to work hard to win this game, to win these games. Simple as that. Maine West versus Larkin. That's a hell of a game. Maine West needs to get that second one under their belt too. It is what it is. There's teams that are based on momentum, and there's teams that are based on talent. And teams based on momentum, this is the huge week for them. Second week's the huge week. Going down, just looking at some of the games. Glenbard Self at Galesburg. That's actually a great game. It tests the Glenbard Self. It's a good test for the Glenbard Self. Sort of a bigger team against Galesburg, and it's going to be Coach Christie's challenging his team, and it's a great game to schedule. A lot of out of conference games. Heron at Carterville. That's another good game. Highland Park versus Lakes. That's another good game. Highland Park, are they going to get the second win? That's very key. Providence Catholic plays another out-of-state team. Stevenson plays Muskegon out of Michigan. That's a great game on Saturday to look out for. Lyle at Coal City. That's a good game. Libertyville at Batavia. That's another good game. Batavia. It's sort of that another one for them. It's a momentum team. Coal City and Lyle, 2 momentum teams. But I think Coal City's going to win that game. Burlington Central versus Hampshire. That's sort of a good game too. A lot of good games that are out of the Chicagoland area. Wilmington versus Manteno is a good game, and before you say anything, and then you just say, "Well, what are you talking about?" It's a perfect test for Wilmington. Perfect test. Yes, Mantino lost the Piatone, but it's a perfect test. Um, let's look at any other games. Carmel over at the Calb is a good game. Carmel needs to get that first win. And the Calb is the Calb. They're just that good. Nokemis at St. Teresa is another good game. That's actually a huge game for Nokemis. It's a must-win for Nokemis. Normal West versus O'Phallion's another good game. Rich Central at St. Rita is a hell of a game. That's a hell of a game. That's a game that to keep a close eye out for. Ottawa Marquette at Stockton, great game. Palatine, no. Ottawa Marquette at Stockton is a huge pace setter for 1A football. It's a huge pace setter for 1A football, no matter what. Yeah, I'm just going down, looking at the games. Willowbrook and Hinsdale Central is a huge game in the Western Suburban Conference. Willowbrook had a hell of a game yesterday, last week, against Grays Lake North, and you got Hinsdale Central, who just lost to Saint Xavier in Ohio. That's a huge game. We Norfolk Julia Catholic Academy. That's actually a pretty good game too. That's a rough and tumble game. That's a smash mouth game right there. I'm forgetting one game. There's one game I'm forgetting. Riverside Brookfield at Wakanda. That's a huge game. Wakanda's got new coach, if I'm not mistaken. Riverside Brookfield is the second game if they get that win, another win under their belt, deserving of coach. I'm forgetting his name, but it's huge for Riverside Brookfield, especially in that Metro race. So it is what it is. Rochelle at Johnsburg. That's a huge game. You have Rochelle, who won their game last week. Johnsburg, who's they killed Plano. That's a huge game. Plano versus Rochelle is a huge game. Not Plano. I'm sorry. Johnsburg versus Rochelle is a huge game. I think Johnsburg is a 4A power. I think they have a really good chance of going up against Rochester again in the state title game, and it'll be a really good game. But again, we'll see what happens. That is week 2 IHSA football 2017. Again, it's the time where coaches show their full hand of plays and schemes for week 2. After week 2, the pace will be set. Team rankings, Deep Dish Football team rankings will come out after week 2. If you like what I had to say, please follow Coach Big Pete and Deep Dish Football on Twitter and Facebook. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, to the YouTube channel of Deep Dish Football. If you have any questions, email me, coachbigpete@gmail.com. Deep Dish Football, Coach Big Pete, and Women Report are still looking for advertisers and sponsors. If you are interested, email me, coachbigpete@gmail.com. Also, if you like what I had to say, go to deepdishfootball.com. On the right-hand section, feel free to leave a tip/donation towards deepdishfootball.com. I'm forgetting one more thing, too. It's early in the morning. Take it easy on me, please. Deep Dish Football Live, 8 p.m. Wednesdays, Thursdays. Breakfast with Coach McPete, 9 a.m. Saturday morning on Facebook Live of Deep Dish Football. If you want to see it, be sure you're following Deep Dish Football on Facebook. Thank you again. Week 2, let's get the game started. Week 2 of IHSA football. And also visit IHSA.org for all of your football scheduling, conference standings, and needs. IHSA.org. Have a lovely day.